Hi everyone, good morning for people in Brazil, good afternoon for people in UK. It's a pleasure to start this webinar today. I am Aldo Macri, Regional Director of Britcham Paraná. We have today the Northern Powerhouse talking about trade and investment opportunities in the north of England. The Britcham in Brazil, it aims to be the reference of the UK and Brazil business community, providing a forum to foster bilateral trade, investments, services, and relationship. The Britcham in Brazil has 4 offices, one in Rio de Janeiro, another one in São Paulo, another one in Paraná, and in Minas Gerais. As a Britcham member, allows you to have networking with high decision-making executives in Brazil and in the UK. The Britcham is organized by some committees and discussion groups from several fronts and opportunities. To learn more about each, please just visit the Chamber's website, www.britcham.com.br. I would like to thank the Britcham supporting members whose brands were widely publicized on the opening slide of this webinar. I also would like to thank Adam Patterson, Deputy Director of Britcham Paraná, Renata Sucupira, and Thomas Fesl, President and Vice President of Britcham International Trade and Investments Committee. And also, I would like to thank the speakers, Susan Waterson, Head of the Northern Powerhouse Inward Investment Hub of the Department for International Trade, and Michelle Duggan, Inward Investment Manager of Invest Northeast England, for accepting our invitation to bring this very relevant content to our audience. Now, I'd like to pass on to my colleague Adam, who will move on the next part of this webinar. The floor is yours, Adam.
Thank you, Aldo, my friend. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, to colleagues in Brazil. Good afternoon to colleagues in the UK. Absolutely great to be here with you all today in my multiple capacity as Britcham Vice President in Paraná, and also British Honorary Consul in the States, and also within the British Embassy and Northern Powerhouse Champion for the awesome north of England, where I have the honour of being from, and by extension, that makes it the best region in the UK, right? But joking apart, I think it's going to become clear for everyone throughout this webinar how and why the Northeast is a brilliant place to invest in business. First things first, thanks to everyone watching and tuning in. Thanks Aldo, Britcham Paraná President, for opening the event, to Renata and Thomas for leading Britcham's International Trade and Investment Committees, to all Britcham staff for the first rate support. Huge hat tip as always. Much obliged as well to support the British government in Brazil, especially to my friend Carolini as the Northern Powerhouse lead in the consular. And not last, but certainly not least, the speakers that are here with us today. Shirley from Invest Northeast, representing the Northeast region, and Susan representing the Northern Powerhouse in the British government directly from the north of England. Just as a bit of a quick intro here, Brazil and UK have been friends and partners for over 200 years, before, in fact, Brazil became an independent country, which obviously the UK had a key role in partnering with. 100 years ago, when Britcham was founded, which is actually the only chamber of commerce recognized by both the UK and Brazilian governments, the UK was the largest trade partner in the country, and throughout the 19th century, up until just before the Second World War, remained as the largest foreign investor. And even though we've fallen back somewhat as key economic partners, currently total trade between the countries is worth more than £6 billion a year and growing, with an uptick of over 8% just over the last annual period. And looking at more recent data, just in trade of goods, UK exports to Brazil increased by over 10% in 12 months to April 2022, and imports from Brazil increased by over 9% in the same period. And if you look at investment flows, UK-based FDI in Brazil was almost $20 billion over the last 15 years. And when you add in total UK and total UK overseas territories, you're looking at a figure above 70 billion, which is the third highest country allocation behind the US. And foreign investment northeast of England as well was worth around £100 billion, which is hugely exciting. In summary then, the trade scenario within the countries is positive, And with Brexit added into the mix, becomes a huge economic opportunity, as the Prime Minister has said. And without giving many spoilers to the talks from today's speakers, the Northeast is a diverse and thriving economy, is recognized for its strength in a number of key industry sectors, including industry, auto parts, agro, and life sciences. Indeed, the Northeast is the highest volume of goods exports relative to the size of its economy. There's a lot we can do together, which is why I'm so excited and honored to help organize today's webinar. And just to close out before we welcome our speakers, some housekeeping points. Today's webinar is being streamed live through Zoom and YouTube. We will have speakers' presentations followed by a Q&A session. Questions can only be sent through the Q&A tool of the Zoom platform. I would just ask the audience to mention name and company before sending their questions. And also we will curate the questions being asked, but obviously as there's a time constraint, we apologize that not all questions may be addressed, but I'm sure that the speakers and Britcham colleagues as well will be happy to reply to any questions afterwards as well. And now to quickly introduce our fantastic speakers, we have Susan, who's head of the Northern Powerhouse Inward Investment Hub at the Department for International Trade. She's worked with the DIT for 8 years with roles spanning trade, investment, and Brexit business readiness. Her early career focused on economic regeneration, working for local authorities before joining the Regional Development Agency, Yorkshire Forward, and building a career across the civil service in the Department for Education and Department for Work and Pensions before joining DIT. Susan leads a team of 23 based in the Northern Powerhouse, the US, China, Europe, and India, to deliver services and programs to support foreign investors to invest, expand, and grow in the north of England. Susan holds a European Studies degree and a master's degree in public administration, and has served on several boards as non-executive director. To also quickly introduce Michelle Duggan, our second speaker today. She's Inward Investment Manager for Northeast England, leading on new and emerging sectors. She has strategic responsibility for developing electrification, biofarm, and space and defense sectors. Michelle has over 20 years experience in regional economic development, delivering key projects and initiatives such as Newcastle Helix and the local enterprise growth initiatives. Michelle was also the strategic lead for skills and education at the Northeast Local Enterprise Partnership, and has held advisory roles on regional growth for national policy boards. She's extremely passionate about securing new investment into the northeast of England. That being said, thanks again to everyone tuning in, and now I'm honored to hand over to Susan to kick off today's webinar. Thank you very much. Susan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for that introduction, and bear with us whilst the slides hopefully will start to load. Thank you. So good morning, bon dia. I'm really happy to be here today, and we're going to take a whistle-stop tour around the north of England and hopefully showcase to you some of the exciting opportunities that we have here in the north to increase trade, explore commercial opportunities, and generally see what there is on offer. If we can move on to the next slide, thank you. So I'm going to start off by talking about the UK as a whole and help you get a feel for where the north of England sits within this national landscape. As you can imagine, the UK is a leading destination for investment, and part of the reason why that is the case, we've got a couple of bullet points on the slide there that I'm sure you can read at your leisure, but one of the things that we like to emphasise is the ease of doing business within the UK. So the minimal red tape is a particular aspect that businesses mention to us when they come here. Having the trade record and stable market that the UK enjoys is another factor that is paramount to investors when considering the best place to locate. And as a bit of a example, I suppose, of what we mean by minimal red tape to make it real for you. The example that we use is that by having just £12 in your pocket and 24 hours notice, you can set up a business entity within the UK. So that is what we mean when we say it is very easy to come here and do business. As well as being ranked as a global investor as being the most attractive investment destination within Europe, we've got a range of sectors that I think all businesses will be thinking about for the future in terms of economic growth and recovery. And tech, clean growth, life sciences and digital manufacturing is both where the UK and the north of England excel. And to give you a bit of a flavour of when we talk about clean growth, within the north, 25% of the UK's renewable energy is already produced here. So you can see how these sectors are particularly focused in and around the north of England. So we're just going to go in a little closer now and look more at when we talk about the north of England, the Northern Powerhouse, and why it lives up to that name. We've got a huge array of factors that investors are keen to hear about, I think. So having 5 of the UK's 10 largest cities here, 1 million businesses and a gross value add of almost 340 billion from those businesses mean that it really is a powerhouse in its own right. We've got 8 of the world's top universities located here and a very thriving business environment, which means that more than 24,000 businesses from abroad have come here and chosen to invest in the north. The couple of key sectors that I wanted to highlight today are listed across the bottom of the screen there, but I do want to emphasize that this is really the tip of the iceberg. There's far more beyond these particular sectors as well, but I think just showcasing in particular some of the areas that hopefully will align with some of your business interests as well is a way to bring it to life for you today. And to help you with the geography side of things, where is the north? Here's a little reminder. I think the map can bring that to life a little bit more, pulling out a couple of the key cities that I'm sure you've heard of and illustrating where they are in proximity to each other. The well-connected road and rail networks, with only being approximately 2 hours from London, no matter which part of the north you're in, is definitely a key factor that businesses appreciate when locating here. We've got a number of international airports and shipping routes from the ports on the east and west coast around the world as well. So it really is a neat and joined up ecosystem for businesses when they're here. And if we take a look at the world-class universities that I mentioned, I'm sure there's some alumni in the room here. In fact, I was just talking before this webinar, so I know there is at least one on this call with us. And the talent level that we have from the graduates coming from these top-class universities it's not surprising really that investors comment on the high skill levels that are available in the north. And that combined with the quality of life factors means that we actually do very well in terms of retaining that talent as well. And just to hone in a little bit more on some of those key sectors that we were talking about, we've got a range here today, but really the kind of slides won't be able to do it justice, but I'm sure Michelle will talk a little bit more in detail as well on some of these. So the energy, health, innovation, digital and advanced manufacturing are broken down here into key areas, excuse me, and you'll see that within each sector there are various subsectors, and we could probably do a whole presentation on each of those subsectors. such as the wealth of opportunities within those particular sectors. And what I want to highlight today is that we do have a series of staff based both here in the North and overseas who specialise in and around these sectors and can talk to you about what some of the opportunities are, particularly connecting you with the customer base, the supply chains and the commercial opportunities that each of these bullet points here indicate. And these are the ones that particularly resonate with the North. And if you are keen to know more about these, then you can take a look through some of the opportunities that we've got. So on the next slide, I just want to highlight in more detail what some of these mean. So there is a website link that is showing on the slide here, and I'm sure we can get that out to anybody who's interested. But within that website, some of these opportunities are broken down. And when we talk about high potential opportunities, what we mean is that these are real commercial viable propositions that we have worked up in quite some detail and ensured that they are, the best viable options for overseas investors. So they're very detailed. There's a lot of information on the website, and really just putting the names on here doesn't do them justice. But I think you can see how plotted against the geography there, that there is an awful lot just within the Northern Powerhouse itself and across the rest of the UK. So you can have a scroll through those opportunities, dive into the details, see what's involved in each one, and do get in touch off the back of any of those if there's something that catches your eye and you want to discuss further. In addition to the investment opportunities featured on the slide here, there's also a number of capital investment opportunities as well. So real estate or site that are potential for investment as well. So that's all captured and listed on the website as a great resource for you to take a look, as I say, at your leisure. And as well as the opportunities that are live right now, I wanted to just highlight some of the things that are coming in the future as well. You may have heard announced that we had a number of Freeports that our Chancellor launched last March. So these are in development currently. There's 3 within the Northern Powerhouse itself, and the development of the Freeports sits alongside some of the existing ports and logistics hubs that are contained within the North currently as well. So what can Freeports bring to you? They're designated areas that have a number of tax benefits and planning provisions that will suit a range of investors, and I urge you to consider whether that might be right for your business, and see which ones might provide a great location for you. So just really bringing to life, what is it like to invest here in the North? It's quite difficult when you're in another country to get a feel and a flavour for a place. So we've actually got a programme where we have 14 staff situated in different markets around the world who champion and support businesses to come and invest here in the North of England. We actually have one on the call today, Carolina Silva, who's based in Brazil, and I'd urge you to get in touch with Carolina if there's anything that you want to explore about the North or find out more information. And that's across both, trade and investment opportunities. And just to bring to life a little bit further, what better way than hearing from investors that have already made that move and set up a base within the North. One such business is Maztec. They're an Indian investor, and they specialise in digital and cloud transformation. And Abhishek who's their president for the UK and Europe, has been a Northern Powerhouse investment champion. And this programme is where we bring together a cohort of businesses who are happy to speak to prospective investors, share their experiences of setting up in the North, and I suppose help them through weighing up those considerations about where is a great place to extend and grow your business. And I've just highlighted here a few things that Abhishek has shared with us about how he's found it useful working with the Department for International Trade and our other local partners, really to kind of cement his business within the ecosystem of the North and raise the profile of the company, and most importantly, build up the supply, the pipeline of the skilled labour through working with universities and ensuring that the talent that they need to succeed has been in place all the way through. And they're another recipient of support through the Overseas Officers programme that I just mentioned previously as well, and have really felt that benefit from having the support both within their home country and then also within the North as well. And Maztec are not alone, so if you did come to the North, you'd be amongst a lot of large-scale investors, Nissan, EDF, Boeing, to name but a few. So what better way really to explore the North than to come here? I know it's quite a long trip, but I would say, you know, it's well worth the effort if you want to see things and check out various locations for yourself. There's a number of dates or events or opportunities happening. You're welcome to tailor any visits around that. We'll always come up with some ideas as to when would be a good time to come. I've just put one here on the slide. So we've got the Green Trade and Investment Expo, which is being arranged by the British government here in the North. And that's going to be showcasing a whole widespread series of net zero related events and activities, but most importantly, showcasing the opportunities for investors. And we'll be bringing investors from all around the world to that event. So if you'd like to be involved, then again, you know, please do get in touch to see how we can make that possible. And finally, a bit more information about the Department for International Trade. We're here to support exports, drive inward and outward investment, working on market access and trade deals, and also championing free trade. There's a range of support for investors, which is free of charge and covers all of the attributes that you can see on the screen there in front of you. But just to highlight, we have had since November 2020 the Office for Investment. So this is a unit that is a joint Department for International Trade and Number 10 organisation. So this provides a concierge style support for the largest and highest value investors coming to the UK, and can offer sort of bespoke and unique assistance to those investors. So again, happy to connect people up and make the right introductions to smooth any of your pathways to looking at the UK. So thank you very much for listening today. I hope this has provided a bit of a flavour. I've got some of the contact information there if you do want to follow up and hear more about that. We'd be very happy to talk about any of your growth plans, and happy to cover any questions that may pop up in the chat and so on afterwards. But for now, I'll hand back to you, Adam or Aldo, I'm not sure who. It's going to back to you, Adam. Thank you very much. Obrigado.
Thank you very much, Susan. Perfect Portuguese with the obrigado there. Really interesting stuff. Thanks for taking the time out to share that with us. And now I'd like to invite our next speaker, Michelle from Invest Northeast, to talk a bit about the work she does and some of the business investment opportunities in the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm just loading up my screen, if you just bear with me a second. Okay, great. So thank you so much for inviting me to join this session today. I think, as Adam said at my introduction, I am very passionate about investment opportunities into the Northeast. So I'm going to be talking about the whole of the region and how it sits, but also just really focusing in on one of our key sectors to give an illustration of how we work together. Invest Northeast England is a very small organisation that works to support companies. We work very closely with DIT for international inquiries, but we also work with our sort of on the ground network within the region. So we work closely with local partners and the wider ecosystem. So we really are a very good sort of point of entry into regional investment. Just try and move my slides on there. So just a little bit about where the Northeast is. Susan's map was lovely, just highlighting where Newcastle was. So we're up in the northeast corner of England, so quite close to the centre of the UK, and we've got really excellent connections to the rest of the country, but also internationally. So we've got a fantastic road and rail network that connects us into the rest of the UK. We also have a light transit system within the sort of main urban area. So average commute times in the region is around sort of 30 minutes for sort of office locations, but a lot of the main industrial centres as well, because we've got that really good connectivity. You can be in London within less than 3 hours, but obviously we've got international links into the Far East, but also via Heathrow, Amsterdam and Paris, we can get into intercontinental travel as well. So the Northeast, we've got one of the fastest growing economies, and we've got highly skilled and flexible workforce. So we connect into those global markets. We've got about 70,000 businesses that are located here. Our skilled workforce is known for its productivity, but it's also known for its loyalty as well. So we've got the lowest attrition rates for workers in most of our sectors. So an example would be, we've had an investor move to the UK from London into the Northeast, and they had a 68% attrition rate. So they had staff turnover about 68% in their base in London, and they moved to the Northeast and they've achieved about 18%. So it's a big improvement for them. We've got really good existing infrastructure for companies to locate into, whether they're industrial firms or whether they're office-based companies, but we also have a really good portfolio of development opportunities. And we do have an excellent cluster around innovation and collaboration within that wider ecosystem, as well as being able to kind of connect into supply chain opportunities, whether you're looking to build supply chain or whether you're looking to access supply chain for big OEMs. We've got networks that can help companies do that. So a little bit about our sector strengths, and Susan really did sort of touch at these at northern level. So we do tend to sort of map across to those key sectors. A main one for us is advanced manufacturing, and particularly in automotive and rail manufacturing, but also around other sort of advanced manufacturing sectors. So we're seeing, as Adam said, sort of looking at new sectors, we're seeing a growth in inquiries around space and defence. But also sort of niche in terms of semiconductors, materials as well. We're seeing small clusters develop around that. Within life sciences, we've got a strong life sciences sector in the Northeast, but our particular strengths are around biopharma. About a third of the UK's output for pharmaceuticals is driven by the Northeast of England. We also have sector strengths around healthy aging, with the highest concentration of academics focused on aging in our universities, but working through specific units that have been set up to work with industries and commercialise products much more quickly into the market. So this is about tackling the challenges of aging, but also about getting products that are more suitable for an aging society. So kind of tapping into the silver pound, so that there's a bit of an untapped market opportunity there. We also have a specialism around sort of plant-based proteins, so plant-based products and alternative proteins. So we've got a number of research organisations and a cluster of companies that are really focused on alternative ways of manufacturing food, and really good R&D around that cluster. In terms of energy, Susan talked about sort of decarbonisation and net zero. The Northeast is exceptionally well placed because our coastline runs alongside the largest offshore wind farm at Dogger Bank, and so we have a number of the big offshore wind companies located here to get that really good access into the facilities there. But we also have energy, hydroelectric energy coming in from Scandinavia through an interconnector, and we've got a offshore renewable energy catapult that again works with industry, works with science and innovation, and there's a lot around the older industries as well. So we've got subsea engineering capability, and a history of oil and gas operations coming out of the northeast of England. We have an excellent digital ecosystem as well. So we've got really good software companies with particular strengths in and around satellite applications, immersive technology, games development, and particularly through esports is a really new area for us. So the UK's esports campus is going to be located in our area, and will open up in the next year. And we also have strengths in fintech and a really strong cluster of fintech companies located here. And then financial and business and professional services, we work with companies across all sectors. So they provide a good chunk of our employment, and so it's a really important sector for us. In terms of the support that we offer to investors, we do have some financial incentives, which is often very interesting for companies. So if it's a really large scale strategic investment of at least 100 jobs with a large scale capital investment that goes with it, that would be able to attract a grant there of sort of between £1 and £5 million. There's an imminent investment fund that also covers part of our geography, and that's for first-time investors up to £1 million. And then for smaller companies, there is a whole range of support packages that are in place, including some grants that are delivered at the local level. In terms of angel investment and equity investment, we've got a really good portfolio of products that are available there, and then there's a soft landing package, which this means that we very much tailor the support to the individual company, and that allows us to look at what their specific needs are and where they're going to be located, and there can be a whole range of support mechanisms that we can build around that, and that can impact on costs of recruitment, costs of accommodation. So it very much depends on the company. We would work the package out on a case-by-case basis. And then we also can provide detailed technical advice on a whole range of business matters there as well. What I wanted to focus on today was just one of our key sectors and something that's really coming to the fore. So as part of our advanced manufacturing sector, we have real assets in and around decarbonisation, but particularly in electrification and future mobility. So the Northeast has significant investments in battery technology, but also right across automotive, electric vehicle and their associated supply chains. So we've got a comprehensive asset base ranging from industry to R&D and a highly skilled workforce. Just to give you an idea of the scale of investment, in the last 10 years, there has been an investment of about £10 billion in electrification technologies into the UK, and the Northeast has secured over 40% of that, and much of that has come in the last 2 years, so with the Nissan Envision and the British Volt gigafactories. In terms of what that means for our economy, we've seen a significant increase in companies locating here around the automotive and battery technology supply chain, chemicals, formulation of materials, recycling, and energy solutions that are linked to net zero and electrification. We also have seen more inquiries from OEMs and niche vehicles. Just another map here for you to really highlight the connectivity, and you can see here that we've got 3 gigafactories located in the region, but they're close to where our industrial centres are, around sort of Sunderland and Blythe, but also they're very close to our ports as well, so there's export opportunities there. Just a little highlight here really of our capabilities to show that it's very much a whole system approach. So we have EV and battery clusters, so we've got companies working in those sectors, and that gives us really wide-ranging supply chain opportunities. In terms of power electronics, motors and drives, we're producing about 1 million automotive electric motors per year, and that is growing rapidly. So we have the biggest automotive power electronics manufacturing plant here, and a lot of small scale production as well. We also have a whole life cycle battery ecosystem. So this is ranging from the actual sourcing of the materials. And so we have lithium mines located here based on mine water energy, but we have methods of extraction. We partner with Tees Valley for processing, and then that feeds into the battery production, and then that feeds into the automotive manufacturing. And we also then look at what happens after the batteries come out of the vehicles. So we have companies here that are operating energy storage systems using second life batteries, but also quite a lot of activity and interest now around recycling and getting those precious resources back out of the batteries and giving them a second life as well. We also have 17 of our R&D centres are focused on electrification, so there's a real intellectual thrust around this as well, and a dedicated innovation centre around power electronics. And so we have this sort of full spectrum of connected energy and net zero capabilities. So in terms of the Northeast as a cost base, we're very competitive. If you were to locate a manufacturing facility in London, it would cost you about £15 million more than it would cost in the Northeast. If you were going to locate a similar sized manufacturing plant in Glasgow in Scotland, it would cost about £1.5 million. So we tend to be very cost competitive, but importantly, we've got this broad portfolio of property options. So if you wanted to design and build, you could go straight into an infrastructure ready site. There are development opportunities for you to actually do that infrastructure yourself. And then we have existing industrial facilities. And because of the recent investments from British Volt and Nissan, we're seeing a real surge in activity around those. So there are people moving. So that's creating space for other people to move into the markets. We do have most of our industrial infrastructure is located around where large scale OEMs are, but particularly where the supply chain bases are. And with the global shortage that we've had in semiconductors recently, we've seen that actually having that clustering, that physical clustering, has made a real difference to getting things into facilities and into manufacturing, and then getting the products out the door really quickly. We also have integrated R&D capability. So our universities have set up specific research and innovation centres alongside the larger industry clusters. And also worth mentioning that we are very development friendly. So we work with companies to help them understand how to navigate the planning system. British Volt were able to secure planning permission on their site within 16 weeks, which was for the scale of the plant, was fairly unheard of. And as well as that that sort of network of support organisations, we've got excellent connectivity in the region, so your digital infrastructure can support businesses too. The regional labour market is very strong. There's about 116,000 people working in manufacturing, and about 70,000 of those are specialist workers in advanced manufacturing. There's about 25,000 in the automotive sector alone, and most of that is around motor vehicle manufacturing. I've mentioned that we've got our low turnover rates, so companies that are investing in training when they locate here know that that investment is going to be rewarded in the longer term. And also automotive companies are highly productive here. So in the number of cars produced annually for every person employed, Nissan at Sunderland is one of the most productive companies, car plants in the world, and has been repeatedly successful in pitching for work from Nissan HQ in Japan. The talent pipeline is also very strong. We've got 5 universities here. We've got universities that are Russell Group research intensive universities, and we also have ones that are very focused on sort of vocational education, working alongside industry. And that's really sort of shown in how our course structure is and the kind of subjects that people are taking. So over half of the students in the Northeast are focused on STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering and maths. And there's a really good base for companies to work with those students while they're in education, but also there's really good graduate retention for when they finish. And also our colleges and our universities are very collaborative, but they'll collaborate with companies and form strategic partnerships, but they will also collaborate with each other. So the University of Newcastle and some of our colleges have recently formed an Institute of Technology, and they're leading the way in developing new skills modules for the electrification sector. Just a couple of case studies here. Turntide Technologies made 3 strategic investments into the Northeast. They acquired Hyperdrive, Avid and Borg Warner. So they were already looking at sort of smart motor systems, but these 3 acquisitions have enabled them to really accelerate their progress and get products into market much more quickly. And now they can provide an end-to-end offering for the electrification of vehicles. And one of the things that does is it improves the sustainability of electrification. So it sort of supports us as a region in our ambitions around decarbonisation and preserving future resources. And then British Volt obviously is a very large scale investment. It's a 3,000 person gigafactory. So it will create a huge number of jobs. They're breaking ground at the moment, so it's being constructed as we speak. They've developed a number of strategic partnerships across their customer base, but also across the sort of supply and investment sectors. So they're working with Aston Martin, with Lotus, with Siemens and Glencore. And they have a very strong sustainability focus. So one of the reasons they located on that eastern seaboard near Blyth was because they could access that renewable energy. They're also looking at how they can engage better with the communities and build the talent pipeline. And they're looking beyond surface transport and mobility. They're actually looking at maritime and other modes of transport and electrification as well. So it's a huge opportunity for us. So that's it really from me. And that was just a very quick sort of trot into one of our key sort of emerging sectors. But obviously I'd be happy to discuss any of the other sectors that we've referenced there, or have follow-up conversations with colleagues. The only thing I would say is that Susan mentioned that there is that Green Investment Expo happening later in the year in October. That's going to be in Gateshead, which is right in the middle of our patch. And if you are interested in coming and being part of that, then we'd be really happy to help. We're planning on doing quite a lot around electrification for that. And then we are also going to be at the US Battery Show in Detroit and at the London EV Show. So if you've got colleagues who are going to be at either of those events, please do sort of encourage them to come and meet with us later in the year. So thanks very much, and I'll hand back to Adam.
Great stuff, Michelle. Thank you very much for that. Extremely interesting. Just before we close out today's webinar, just a few questions that I have for both yourself, Michelle, and Susan. But let's do it in order of presentation. So just 1 or 2 questions for Susan. Just very quickly, why was the Northern Powerhouse program set up by the government?
So, Adam, I think we can all recognise that there are parts of the UK that are perhaps not as well known as London or other major cities. And really what we wanted to do was bring together the strengths from across the north and really showcase what there is here in a way that resonates with businesses and highlights the attributes for investors. And that's where the phrase Northern Powerhouse was coined from, was to kind of bring back the focus really from London and the southeast and help deliver economic benefits for the north and really sort of give that boost. The north was an industrial powerhouse. We're now emerging and evolving into you know, a different but equally powerful 21st century technology related being that will, you know, put the north back firmly on the map. And yeah, hopefully that gives a bit of a flavour.
Yeah, excellent stuff. That was going to be my follow-up question. So when a lot of people, especially from abroad, think of the north of England, they do still think about this old industrial economy. And then the follow-up question would be, how exactly has this changed over the last 20, 30 years? And how is the reality different? And how do you help change perspectives, or at least initial focus of companies and investors when they're looking at the UK? How do you help change mindsets to help increasingly focus on the North England as a viable business destination?
Yes, and I think that's where talking about the particular sectors that are strong in the north is really helpful. So really it's through providing information, statistics, facts about that business growth, and yeah, turning a page really on the history books to show that like the rest of the world, you know, the north doesn't stand still. We've got a booming digital and tech economy. I think Michelle referenced some of this as well, but you know, the e-commerce, for example, off particularly, you know, the COVID crisis has really been booming, and we've seen a lot of innovation and particularly work around things like the vaccine development and manufacturing that goes on here in the north. Now, they're stories that I think resonate around the world because they're very topical, they're very cutting edge, and there is a real buzz around those industries now in the north. And with sort of changes like you've probably heard that the BBC relocated to Manchester, and we have things like Media City and dare I say it, you know, a pretty cool lifestyle choice for a lot of people who are looking to, you know, change where they live and come out and experience the quality of life that is on offer here, as well as all of that great business economy.
Oh, excellent stuff. Really exciting time for Northern England. Just very last question, picking up on your last point and something you mentioned in your presentation. So you talked about the increased quality of life factor in the north of England. Just quickly for people watching and watching afterwards on YouTube, what are some of the key elements and drivers behind this greater quality of life in the north of England, would you say?
So we're blessed with great natural geography in the north. So, you know, as well as this kind of stunning landscapes that we have from the Lake District and so on, to the beautiful cities that we have as well. We showed a map earlier as well about the sort of interconnectivity. So although it is quite a large physical geography, you're never that far away from other parts of the north. So it makes it very easy to access things like the cultural attractions that are here as well. So you may have heard in the news that Bradford has been awarded the UK City of Culture for 2025. And yeah, lots of initiatives like that that really kind of, I think, bring home the various aspects that people are looking for. And of course, when investors come here, they're interested in housing, schools, what there is for their families, you know, how all their staff get looked after. And as Michelle was talking about as well, you know, we've got a really great track record of retaining the workforce here because of all of these different factors that come into play.
Perfect. I'm really looking forward to going back at the end of the year. You know, the North Yorkshire Moors and the Lake District the other side, some of the most beautiful landscapes in the whole of Europe. Susan, thank you very much for that. Just a few questions for Michelle. Michelle, when you speak to international investors and businesses looking to move to the UK, what are some of the key points that they're surprised at? When you start talking about and for them getting to know the Northeast, what would you say that when they find out what they find out after talking to you and studying a bit more about the business landscape? What are some of the key surprises that these international players have?
Yeah, I think the main thing is probably the kind of collaborative nature of the Northeast. You know, it's really hard for me to go on holiday and not bump into someone I know through work at the airport. So we, you know, it's one of those places we do all know each other incredibly well, and we know where our strengths are and where to signpost people to, so we can get people into the right bit of the network at the right time. So taking life sciences as an example, you know, if a life science comes to us and they want to sort of manufacture something that's sort of fairly off the shelf standard product, they're just expanding, but they're interested in knowing what our innovation assets are, we can get them to look at the right sites, you know, with the right kind of logistics capability for them in the right location, with good proximity to a workforce, so that very kind of practical, that's your business need, we can get that sorted quite quickly, but we can also then get them into the ecosystem and the support network that there is, so they can look at potentially innovating and growing that. And I think the thing that people are really struck by is that kind of intellectual capability that we have, so that there is, you know, there are really good routes into universities, but also into, for example, as with life sciences, into NHS R&D and commercialization, to clinical trials. We've got some of the fastest routes into from sort of bench to bedside in terms of getting things through clinical trials. We've got some of the most efficient routes to do that, but obviously still sticking within national guidelines and regulations.
Excellent stuff. I mean, you picked up a lot of interesting points, key sectors, and some growth trends. But if you had to sum it up, what would you say are the top 3 economic opportunities that the Northeast has when compared to not only the rest of the country, but also continental Europe?
I think, you know, the sustainability is a really big one for us. You know, we've got this really good, you know, Susan talked about sort of natural assets. We have great assets in the Northeast in terms of that, you know, working towards decarbonisation. So we've got offshore wind. We can power a lot of industrial capability from renewable energy, and that's a sustainable source. But we've got specialisms in heat networks. So a lot of new developments now again are looking at more sustainably heating things. We've got investment in the infrastructure to allow, again, decarbonisation. So sustainability, I think, is a really key thing, and it's not just about you know, the decarbonisation of transport. It's about sort of enough for everyone forever. So again, thinking about having a workforce that is healthier for longer. So we've got an aging population, you want them more productive for longer. So that all sort of feeds into it. So I think that's one of the really big key selling messages. Our connectivity is the big selling point for us as well, but not just our kind of physical logistical connectivity, but our technical digital connectivity is also really excellent. So we've got data centers located here, large scale data centers. We have among the fastest broadband speeds in the UK, and we've got really good infrastructure companies to enable that to happen. We also have really good sort of network capability and also smart systems, so that whatever you're doing on the networks, you can do it better and more efficiently, and you can collaborate with other people. And that then, I guess, is my other key selling point, is that collaborative nature. So automotive component manufacturers are innovating within their sector, but they're doing that by collaborating with life sciences companies, aerospace companies, and they're doing that thinking about something like digital manufacturing and systems for doing that. So they're learning not just by looking at their own individual silos. So we've got people who are very willing to break out of normal boundaries, and innovation definitely happens in the spaces in between. It's where sectors collide, it's where disciplines collide, and we're very open to that as a region.
Really interesting basket of competitive advantages. Michelle, just for a last question then. So for a Brazilian company looking to expand to the Northeast, set up a commercial or industrial base, and say Newcastle or another city, perhaps as an international hub to do business in Europe or in other regions, what are some of the first steps to do that, and how can you guys help?
So I guess the first step is that they approach us and give us an overview of what it is they want to achieve. If it's market entry, then a lot of companies will come, particularly from less so from Europe, but more from sort of other continents. They're looking to understand what the market opportunity is, and they want to sort of test the water. So we'll get them networked with supply chain organizations, or if it's business to business, with sort of market opportunities through that, so they can just get that introduction to get a feel for it. And then around that, we'll supply them with information about what locations might be suitable for if it was a logistics operation initially. That's fine. We do actually find that a lot of companies approach us because they're interested in some of the R&D. So companies will say, we're developing a product, take alternative proteins. Somebody might be working with an alginate substance, and they're looking to test that in a human biome. We've got companies here, so sometimes it is just about making a connection. Other times they know exactly where they want to be. They want to, they know exactly what sort of building they need to operate. They want a manufacturing plant, and they can give us a specification, and we'll do a site search for that basis. Or if it was an office location, we'll ask them whether they want out of town or whether they want city centre for the amenity, and we'll give them some options around that, and then let them know what other support there is. So it's very much it's a free service. We don't charge for it, but there's no real hard sell. We'll work it with the needs of the company.
Interesting stuff. I think that's my questions all answered. I can't thank you and Susan enough for taking the time out to chat to us today, to provide all these interesting insights around both the North and the Northeast region. I think was the first regional webinar that we've done in Britcham, so it's really exciting to start with the North. From my end, I would like to just hand over to Aldo to close out today's webinar. Thank you very much, Michelle, Susan, everyone watching.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Adam. So it was very interesting to understand a little bit more about the North and Northeast. We have a person from the audience, Craig Thompson, having an investment opportunity in the Northeast. Maybe you can keep in contact later. So we thank all the speakers and the audience for their presence. We hope it's been a fruitful event for everyone. So Britcham's upcoming events are available on the website, britcham.com.br. I invite everyone to subscribe to Britcham's YouTube channel and share the link to the recording of this webinar, which will be available to those who have not been able to follow live. So thank you all, and see you in the next webinar. Bye-bye.